Hi all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so can you, if possible, you just turn on your video. Okay, to be great. Okay, to be very great to interact with you all. Okay, so welcome everyone to the knowledge sharing session. So, like when we post regarding this knowledge sharing session for the first time, we use the word like learning never exhausts the mind. Yes, we pay lot of importance to the upskilling or upskilling part, and we appreciate everyone mindset to learn yourself. So even before having this session, so on the automation testing, some of the among you approached me and asked, is there any training or is there any session on the automation testing? So I'm very happy to hear those questions also actually. So today we have Rashmi. So Rashmi is actually a part of SAM family. So she's currently heading the one of the projects in the IBS. So Rashmi, how are you?
Yeah, hi Jamin, hi everyone. I'm so glad that so many of you could make to this session. So I can see that enthusiasm to learn automation, right? So Jamin was telling me that there was a lot of like requirement coming up that they wanted to learn automation. So I thought I will give whatever small knowledge I have about automation. Now, automation itself is a very wide subject, so I can precisely give you the little knowledge that I have with me. So that's why it's a knowledge sharing session, right? Yeah. So we'll start. Okay. And more than that, I'll just introduce myself. As Jamin said, I lead a project with the IBS. Yeah. And that's an automation project. So I joined Cement like about a year ago. And prior to that, I was working as a manual and automation tester in another MNC. Okay. So yeah, my journey with Cement has been great. And this is the first time I'm, coming up with some presentation like this. So I'm kind of a little nervous, but I hope that, we'll make this session a little more interactive. So I'll be at home, right? Like I'll feel more relaxed that way, right? So you can come up with queries that you have, and also there will be an exclusive query session at the end. So if you're more than welcome to ask me questions during that time as well, right? Okay. So Jemin, shall I start then?
Yes, you can, Rashmi.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm hoping everybody is able to see my screen, right? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Rashmi. Yeah, yes.
All right. Okay, so getting started with automation testing, that's what we are going to do today. All right. And yeah, so let me first discuss the agenda for today, right? So we'll be first discussing why we need to move to automation testing and what's the importance of this session, right? And apart from that, we'll also discuss some important skills that you'll need during your automation journey, right? So like some of you might be possessing these skills, some of you might have to acquire these as we move forward, okay? And then specifically, I'll be talking about this automation tool called Selenium. And in Selenium, we'll mostly focus on Selenium Web Driver, whereas there is like Selenium itself, it has a suite of tools which are meant for various purposes, right? Okay. So we'll slightly touch upon the Selenium WebDriver architecture, and then we will, make it more interesting by trying some hands-on with our first test script today. All right. So yeah, and then followed by that, as I said, there will be a Q&A session. Okay. Yeah. Right. So why automation testing? Okay. So I see that there are many people here, right? So I would like to know what, anybody of you can say, why would you like to move to automation? What is the importance? Anybody? See, let's make this interactive.
Save time and energy.
Agreed, agreed. Okay, so I would say that the drive behind automation is like, why would somebody come up with this idea? Let's automate it. First of all, we get bored, right? As manual testers, we do the repetitive task again and again. And what we do finally is like overlook so many things which lead us to errors, right? So like for example, a tester who joins a project would be very enthusiastic about it, but over a period of time, when we perform the same test again and again, we try to or you can say we tend to overlook those things that might happen, like it's like something like a blindfold, right? So it leads to errors. There's a high risk of error over a period of time, and it also requires the presence of a tester 24/7. So you cannot do manual testing all the time, right? Like there are many hours in a day when you could actually be productive, but because it's manual testing, it's not possible manually, right? So that's where you can use automation. And then apart from that, you have to create the test logs and bug reports, etc., manually, right? So what happens, for example, when we are coming up with a bug, like when a test is failing manually, we have to create a bug log and send it to the developer or to the concerned party, right? So these are all manual actions that follow. And then it has a very limited scope, as I said, because again, we will be mostly following something like specifically either UI testing, or we'll be following something like functional testing. The scope of focus is limited when we come to manual testing. Like we have to specifically like when we are doing functional testing, we will not have the time to think of performance and things like that, right? So if we go ahead and automate these repetitive things, then it becomes much more easier for us to focus our time and effort on other things, right? So that's why automation, right? Okay, so now, as I said, we will also discuss some key skills which are required for an automation tester. So many of you must be knowing that the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is like, will I be able to do automation because I do not know programming, right? So I will say that in order to kickstart automation, you will need some knowledge in programming. Okay, it can be any language. Why? Because most of the programming languages share like a common concepts of coding, right? So that's what you would need. And apart from that, you will need a lot of logical thinking and yeah, things like that. So you need not be a programmer, like a mainstream developer, but you still need to know some little programming. Okay, so I'm hoping that most of you must have had some exposure to programming, either during your college days, or maybe during your higher schools, things like that. What is there anybody who's never been into have never had any exposure to programming language at all? Anybody? Okay, all right. So then I think this would kind of make sense to everybody. Okay, so when we'll go ahead, we will touch upon some concepts which are very common in coding. Okay, so if you have any doubts on that, you can ask me and then I'll explain that, right? But we will not go into details of like Java programming or anything as of now. We'll be mostly focusing on this tool called Selenium that we are going to use. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so Then, as I said, so the main thing that automation tester needs to know is any programming language. Okay, so if you are like a beginner, then you can focus either on Java. Like Java is the most easy programming language that you can start with, or another option, great option, is Python again. Okay, so Python is also very like beginner friendly. Yeah, so these two languages are the ones that are widely used worldwide for automation. So you can start your automation journey with any of these languages. Here I will be focusing on Java, and then apart from Java, Python, the best part about this particular tool called Selenium is that it allows us to integrate it with other programming languages like C Sharp, JavaScript, etc., etc. Okay, Ruby, etc. Okay, now why Selenium specifically? Okay, why have I been telling that Selenium is the tool that you should start your journey with? Okay, that is because most of the applications now are web browser based. Okay, now there are mobile applications also, but the like at the background of it, it is again some web service that it works on. Okay, so that way you can say that Selenium is very important into today's automation world, right? So again, there are some drawbacks to Selenium which we'll discuss further, but yeah, so that is one of the things that I said we need to learn some tool. Okay, any questions so far? No, right? Okay, so we'll move ahead. Then, apart from that, unit testing frameworks like TestNG or JUnit. Okay, these are the most commonly used unit testing frameworks. Like once you learn the core Java, and then we also learn the Selenium APIs, and then we need to execute this. Okay, so Selenium itself doesn't allow us to directly execute the script. You need some unit testing framework through which you do the execution. So that thing is called a unit testing framework like TestNG, which is most widely used. Like around 80% of the companies, worldwide use TestNG in combination with Java and Selenium. Right. Okay. And then we also need some build tools like Maven, Gradle. So now these words that I must be using might sound like jargon, or sometimes you might already have heard of them, right? So build tool basically means like something which helps us to make run the code, okay, as a suite, like as a complete thing, right? So that's and we will be using Maven, right? But we'll not start our journey with Maven as of now. Over a period of time, like once we are more familiar with the other things in Selenium, then we'll start making a Maven project and go ahead. Okay, so apart from that, it's very good for an automation tester to have knowledge about Git or GitHub. These are like source control tools which allow us to keep our code. Now, so far you must be using test cases. Either you would be using some tool like TestLink or Jira, or maybe even Excel files to store those test cases, right? So similarly, when we write test scripts, what is a test script? Basically, it's like a test case which runs automatically. Okay, so test, when we need to store test scripts, you need some version control tool which allows us to like save our work that we have done till now, and if we are making any changes, like it should it should be properly saved, right? So that way it's not just limited to our local systems, but it's like available over the cloud or something like that. Okay, so that's what Git and GitHub is, a source control tool. And then now you would all be hearing about Jenkins. Can anybody tell me like what is Jenkins? Is this word new? Okay, all right, so I'll answer that. Like anyways, so just like testing, there's a stream called DevOps, right? Why is it now so famous? So earlier what used to happen is like when we build code, right? We used to build it in the local systems and then deploy it somewhere, and then people used to download it from there and then test, or do all the activities from the like wherever it has been deployed. Okay, now Jenkins is one tool which allow, it's basically like a website, okay, where you can store your code, and it allows you to do continuous integration. What do you mean by continuous integration? So nowadays everybody has moved on to agile methodologies. Yeah, I'll come to that as well. So you must have already attended the agile sessions, many of you, right? So agile methodology is very important when it comes to any sort of software development or testing cycles. Okay, so because it allows us to move in a fast paced like industry like this, right? So yeah, so I was telling that CI, or continuous integration, is when you are following an agile methodology every 2 weeks or every 1 week, right? You will have a sprint where you are creating some new development or some new code. When in our case here, it would be like our test scripts. So every 2 weeks we would be writing around 10 20 new test cases, and then you need to push them to your source, right? So, and this needs to be built again, and then needs to be run. Okay, so all this is automatically done using this tool called Jenkins, or for which is for continuous integration, that is CI. Okay, and then many of you must be already using, so that is great. We can use test management tools like TestLink or Jira, etc., to keep your manual test cases. Or also yeah, I'm not spoken about bug tools here, like bug management tools, because that is not a part of I would say, like, it's part of software testing as a whole, not especially for automation. So I'm assuming that most of you must be knowing some of the other bug defect tracing tools. Okay, yeah. And then agile methodologies, these are some good skills that you can have, right? Like you can either be aware of Scrum or Kanban, these boards that they follow, right? And then the ceremonies, etc., which are like your Scrum planning, grooming, and then daily stand-up. So I'm very sure that SE Mentor follows that in most of their projects. I would say around I can comfortably say at least 90% above the projects will be using this agile methodology. Okay, so that's where all these things come into picture. Like, that is when automation also becomes very important when we are moving to agile, because it's so fast paced now. Just handling your things with manual alone will limit our test coverage. Okay, yeah, all right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah. So moving on. Now, why am I specifically speaking about Selenium? So can anybody tell what is Selenium? Like, why the word Selenium? Is anybody aware of it? It's a very interesting story. No? Okay. All right. So, so when, automation started, right, there was a powerful tool called QTP. Okay. Yeah, I'm audible, right?
Yes, Rashmi.
Okay. All right. So there was a powerful tool called QTP, which is mostly, even now, many people do use it, but it's mostly for desktop applications. Now, what do you mean by desktop applications? Something like on the lines of, your Microsoft Word or etc., which is like you download it into your system and then work on it, right? So when this tool was used, like, this was the most popular tool for automation. Okay, that it had great features which allowed us to automate most of the things, all right, for this desktop application. So this person uh, named Jason Huggins. Okay, he was an engineer at ThoughtWorks Chicago, and just like us, he started feeling bored with his mundane task of doing manual testing. So he was like trying to find out something that could automate his repeated tests. Okay, and he wrote actually a core, the core of Selenium. Okay, and but it was at that time called JavaScript executor. Okay, why? Because it was basically his the code that he wrote was to execute JavaScript, right, which would automate the task he was doing in the web browser. Now later, so when we started having more web-based testing, it was a thought like, what could be the name given to this thing, like which will help us in becoming popular in the market. Okay, and then they came up with the word Selenium. The reason is because actually in chemistry, like, right, so there's we many people do get mercury poisoning. Okay, and Selenium is the cure to that. So you can say that Selenium is like the answer to whatever problems mercury has. Okay, and that is why they gave this name Selenium, because again, Selenium is going to automate web browsers, which QTP could not do. Okay, so at the like this happened in 2000, I believe. Yeah, 2002, I believe. Okay, and so Selenium is this open source automated testing library which is used to test web applications. So can anybody think of some uh, something which Selenium cannot do? Now I'm telling about Selenium. So is there something that Selenium cannot do? So the answer lies in what I told already. Like it cannot automate desktop applications. All right. So for that we still depend on other applications like QTP. Similarly, it cannot automate things like mobile applications. So then that's also a drawback. Okay. Now, what makes Selenium such a widely used testing tool is because it's easy to use, since it's primarily developed in JavaScript. Okay, so it's like it's very fast also. Okay, and the most important thing is it allows us to test our web application on any browser of your choice. So it need not be Firefox, it need not be Chrome specifically. Okay, it can be any browser of your choice. It gives us the power to do that. So that became very important, because with the advent of web services and all that, right, you have to have the option of support in various browsers. Okay, and then tests can be coded in any programming language. So that is the best thing about Selenium. As I said, you just need to learn any one programming language, and you can still use your Selenium libraries, and Selenium has all the tools. So that way it doesn't limit that you can only know Java, or you only know Python. It's not like that. You can learn any programming language, and still you can use Selenium. Okay, now it does not depend on any particular platform. Okay, it can be deployed on various platforms like Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. Okay, and it can also be integrated with tools like JUnit and TestNG, etc. Now, I told you that there are some drawbacks that Selenium has. Okay, so how we can overcome that? That is also a great thing that Selenium allows. It allows us to integrate itself with other tools, which will help us to overcome these you can say limitations that Selenium has. Okay, so let's discuss about some of those limitations. So Selenium is an open source. It's a developer community, like where you do not have a proper support system. So you'll have to basically rely on your Stack Overflow or Google. You'll have to basically do Google search when you're getting some errors. That's what it means. So that happens with any open source. Okay, whereas if it's a paid tool, they would have dedicated support team for that. All right, so that is one thing with Selenium. But again, it has become so widely popular that you have a lots of developer communities which are active for the support for Selenium. Okay, and then Selenium, as I said, cannot test mobile or desktop applications. So what can be done for this is like, however, let me tell you, there is a tool called Appium. Now, once you learn Selenium, to learn Appium, it's just like the APIs which are used are very similar to that of Selenium. So you need not worry much about like, if I learn Selenium, then will I be able to do mobile testing? Okay, so mobile automation. It's just like the names of the APIs which differ in Appium. Otherwise, it's like whatever works for Selenium, the same concepts work for Appium as well. Okay, and then desktop applications, we usually use things like Windrunner, or these are all outdated now because QTP, those are the ones that we use for desktop applications. Okay, all right, and why it would be similar to Selenium is because it also has this like how we try to automate desktop applications is, as I said, using QTP. But then QTP also has very a lot of functionalities which are similar to how Selenium works. Okay, so once you learn Selenium, again, when you switch to a desktop application testing automation tool, it would be very easy for you to understand like what are we doing, right? And then it offers limited support for image testing. So when do we come up with image testing? See, usually we do not do image testing like manually. It's basically a UI testing. Okay, now not just UI testing, I would say specifically for images. Let's say I have a Mentor website, and I want our logo or to be a certain size, and it should have this particular color. So I want to test that whether my logo is that particular size, and does it have that specific color that I have mentioned. Okay, in order to test this, you need to look at that image that's there, and that cannot be done by Selenium. Okay, so for this there are certain tools which you can integrate with Selenium. They are like Seculi and then Auto IT. So you can learn this later on in like once you are very well versed with Selenium, then you can go ahead and learn those tools which are like basically for just image testing. Okay, and they can be integrated into your Selenium test scripts. Okay, and then again, as I said, JUnit and TestNG are some tools which help us in test management and execution. Why? Because Selenium itself will not allow us to execute a test suite or things like that. Okay, so we need an exclusive like unit framework for that. Okay, and these are the options: JUnit, TestNG. Okay, and again, you need to know some programming language. Okay, so let's next see Selenium suite of tools. Okay, so before we move to that, does anybody have any query? No? Okay, all right, so we'll move on. Okay, so Selenium itself has a dedicated suite that facilitates easy testing of web applications. Okay, so I told you that it's a set of tools actually. All right, so now Selenium IDE is one of them, Selenium RC is one of them, Selenium Web Driver is one of them, and then Selenium Grid is there. Okay, I'll not be explaining everything in detail because we mostly need to focus on Selenium Web Driver when it comes to automation. Okay, so Selenium IDE is basically like a you can say like a record and play tool. Okay, what do you mean by a record and play tool? It's like it is a plugin in Firefox. Okay, so this is one limitation of IDE, and that's why it's not very famous. Okay, so Selenium IDE is like a plugin which is available freely in Firefox. So you can only do testing related to those things. Okay, like Firefox browser. Um, and here there is something called as Selinase command. Okay, so you need to know those command words specifically, then only you can automate. So like what do you mean by automating something? So let's say I want to open my browser. Okay, so I'm opening the Firefox browser. Now I want to go to a website like uh, yeah, let's take the example of Make My Trip. Okay, so I want to go to Make My Trip. Now, so what I would do is like I will in the browser I will in the URL I'll type www.makemytrip.com, right, and then I'll hit enter and it would take me to that website. Now what I'll do is like I will manually, like with my eyes, I will look for the option that I'm looking for. Like for example, if I'm trying to book a flight, then I will look for the specific thing that I'm called flights. Okay, so I'll click on flights, right, and then we'll go ahead and do the next things like where are we going from, what is your destination. So from and to will be filled, right, so as manually that's what we do, and then we will search for flights, click on the search flight button, something like that. Especially, okay, and one more thing that I missed is like the date, right? So these are the things that we are doing, like actions that we are doing. Now when we are using Selenium IDE, or this allows us to record these actions. Okay, and what it does is it converts these actions into these Selinase commands. So we do have the option of recording it and playing it, like, so you can play it a number of times, right? So that can happen. But when we want to specifically test with various test data, so let's say I want to log in with in the Make My Trip website with a particular login. Okay, now I want to try testing it with a invalid login. So I need to give a different data there, right? So in that case, what happens is it doesn't, I'll have to write a separate script. Okay, so my older script will not work with for the invalid login. I'll have to write a separate script where either I record and play it, or I will copy the script and just change the test data alone. Okay, so you can if you are interested in using this tool, you can search in Google for some Selenium IDE tutorials, and you can look further into that, but we'll not be focusing on that as that is not what the industry norms are. Okay, so however, if you just need to know how automation works, maybe that would be a good start also. Okay, now Selenium RC. So this was famous mostly in the early 2000s. Okay, Selenium RC is like there is a server called Selenium Core, okay, which needs to be installed in your system. So in any particular system where you're going to do a testing, you will need to install this Selenium RC. RC stands for remote control. Okay, and what it does is like it acts as a it basically runs JavaScripts, and it will be like your server. It interacts with the JavaScripts and then tries to plug in these JavaScripts in the browser, and that's how the actions take place. But there were many limitations to Selenium RC, because first of all you need to install the server, like it's like a proper application that you need to install. Okay, so that was a drawback. Okay, and then apart from that, it mostly works on JavaScript, right? So certain things other than JavaScript could not be handled by Selenium RC. So that is the main drawback that Selenium RC had. Okay, and that's when Selenium Web Driver came into play. So Selenium Web Driver gave us this powerful option of directly working on the browsers. Okay, irrespective of what website you are in, it was mainly working using the browser's capabilities, not just like Selenium RC, where it was using the Selenium core for working on the websites. Okay, so that is how Selenium WebDriver became so popular, because it allowed us to work on the browsers directly without any major installations like Selenium core or anything. Okay, so WebDriver, now Selenium RC is like obsolete, it's no longer in use. Okay, it has been completely replaced by Selenium WebDriver. And then Selenium Grid, okay, it's still in use. It's basically like gives the power for Selenium to be for Selenium scripts to be executed parallelly in different environments. When I say environments, it can be different systems, it can be different browsers. Okay, so all this can be configured in this Selenium Grid. So Selenium Grid is a tool where mainly do configurations, where you set up the servers and clients where you're going to run your scripts. Okay, you just need to do this in one particular system, which will be your Selenium Grid server, and then the executions can be done across multiple systems. Okay, so that way Selenium Grid allows parallel execution. Apart from that, it will also allow you to do parallel execution using different browsers. So for example, I have the Selenium Grid in my server system, and then I can have 10 different uh, clients, or so you can just say systems attached to this. And then what I just need to do is, like, I need to configure. Okay, so one of my systems will be a Windows system. I'm going to run my Firefox browser in that, and I'm going to run all my tests in that. Okay, next in the next system I'll have Windows, and then I'll use Chrome browser. So that's a different configuration. Right now in the next system I'll use Windows and then Edge browser. So three systems, three different tests are, three different parallel testing is happening. Okay, and then apart from that, I can go for a different OS like Linux, and then I can use Safari browser or things like that. You understood, right? Basically Selenium Grid is for parallel execution. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay, good. So we'll continue with Selenium WebDriver architecture. Okay, now, as I said, Selenium WebDriver became very popular because it was having a very simple architecture. Okay, that is, you will have your Selenium test script, which is written in Java or any language, whichever you prefer. And then Selenium provides something called a JSON wire protocol. Okay, I'll tell what that is later. So Selenium, so using this JSON wire protocol, we are easily able to, like transport our test data and all that. Okay, and then comes browser drivers. So as I said, Selenium directly speaks to the browsers to interact with the web pages. Okay, so it uses the strong features of the browser drivers, and that's how we are able to control different elements on the web page. Okay, and what happens is, like, you are able to send HTTP requests and get some HTTP responses and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are the various browsers that are available. So these need to be installed like in the like wherever we are going to execute the test scripts, these browser drivers need to be there. Okay, and so the drivers are like Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Opera driver, Safari driver, Edge driver. what they do, they allow us to control the browser, open the browser, minimize it, maximize it, close it, etc., etc. Okay, and then using the Selenium APIs, we can directly do clicking actions, typing things, or choosing options from the drop down, so on and so forth. All right, so yeah, so let's discuss about when I this is the same thing, like what Selenium test script I'm talking about. So Selenium test script is a test code that we have written in any programming language, be it Java, Perl, PHP, Python, etc. Now, as I said, JSON via protocol, it is a transport mechanism to transfer data between a server and a client. Which is the server? Your end web page, and which is the client, like your browser. Okay, so it helps us to have that HTTP request and response and all that. Okay, so JSON via protocol is used for that. And then browser drivers, so we'll learn a little more about that, like or especially like these have not much to learn, like basically they have the methods and features which allow us to interact with the page, okay, with the browser page. And then obviously you need to have the browser. Okay, so now that I've done such a big speech, I think it's time for some action. Don't you think so? So I've been only talking. So now I would like to show you actually what I mean by automating. Okay, so today we'll do a simple script in Selenium, like where we will open the Chrome browser. Now again, it's your choice if you want to open your Firefox browser, anyone you can do that. Okay, and then we'll navigate to google.com, and then we'll search for, okay, I'm just changing it here. We'll not search for Java tutorials. We'll do one thing. We'll search for our website scmentor.com. Okay, and then we will check whether the title of like we'll click on the search results for Scmentor, whichever is the one that we want, and then we will verify that whether we are actually on that page or not by checking the title of the page. Is that fine? Yeah, so shall we start? Okay, I'll just share one thing. Give me a minute. Okay, so before we start, okay, yeah, so what I wanted to tell is like for this, you need to have some initial setup. Okay, so I will I'm not going to discuss that in detail, but anyways I'll be providing that in the slides. Okay, so later when you're going to refer it, you can refer, and I'll also provide a document for you, right, so that you can refer to it for the installation and setup of Selenium. All right, so I have already, that is because we have some time crunch, so I did not want to waste time in downloading and installing. But as I said, I will give you like very detailed explanation on how to set it up. Okay, like in the document. That's fine, right? Grishma, Reba, I'm just randomly calling up people. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Right. So. Let me just quickly share. Okay, so for your sake, I've already done this, but I'll just quickly, start it again. Okay, so to start with, we need, some place where we can code, right? And that's called an IDE. Okay. Yeah, so here I'm using Eclipse IDE. Now you can use any other of your choice. Okay, there are many options, so you can, but most popularly, you use either Eclipse or what else? Anybody else using anything else? Yeah, so you can install Eclipse. Okay, Eclipse, you can just go to Google, search for Eclipse download, download the latest version, and what happens is you will get a folder where you get the it's a zipped folder. Once you unzip it, inside that there will be an Eclipse exe. You just click on that and this thing opens up. Okay, so when you're opening it up, you can so it will just be basically whatever you're seeing here on the left side, it will not be there since I've already created it. It's there. Otherwise it will be just a blank package explorer. Then you need to go ahead and click on this. Okay, and since we are going to use Java for programming this, I'm going to use new Java project. Okay, and then you can give any name of your preference. So here I have named my project as Selenium Training. Okay, feel free to ask me any questions. Now what happens is it will, the very first time you set it up, it will ask you to set up the location. Okay, now since I've already been doing some projects and all, it's not asking me to do that. So it has this option called use default location. Otherwise you will definitely have to set this up. Okay, so when you are basically opening the Eclipse itself, it will ask you to set up a workspace. Workspace is nothing but your folder where you're going to store all the applications, sorry, all the code that you're going to create. Okay, so that is what workspace is. So first when you open Eclipse, it will ask for a workspace. Workspace is nothing but a folder name where you want to store your code. Okay, and once that is done, that would be mostly your default location. So here I have set this up. Okay, and then you just need to give that location, click next, 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 and finally finish. That's it. Okay, so once you finish, you will get something like this. Okay, it will be Selenium Training. There will not be anything here. All right, so it will be something like this. Any doubts? And then you will have, okay, yeah, 1 second. So you will have a default folder called SRC. Okay, there will be a default folder called SRC in your project. Now you can choose to use this, or if you want, you can rename this also. Right, the option, you just right click and rename or refactor. That's the another option. So you can do that, but I'm keeping it to SRC source. Okay, so Selenium Training, my all my source code will be here. Now, what is this JRE system library? So people who would have worked on Java already know that all the main functionalities that we use are in the form of libraries. Like there are some specific classes and methods inside them which we can use. So they will be here. Specifically we are talking about JRE system library. That is when you're installing Java and configuring Java. Again, the steps would be given in the document that I'll be sharing for setup, so you can use that. So that will be imported here. Okay, so not to worry about that. Now let's move ahead. So there is something called a default package. I'll just right click here and I'll go for a new Java class. Okay, what I want is a new Java class. Okay, well, why class? Like class is something like where you can store the essential features or like methods and things that need to be run. Okay, so here in my case I'm using my first test script in the form of a Java class. Now like when we are using Java, like your scripts will be in the form of classes. Okay, Java class. So first script, you can give any name. Okay, or let's give it open SC mentor. Okay, or launch SE mentor, whatever name you want to give for your class, you can give that. Now this option called public static void main. So for people who know Java, they must be knowing that main class is where the execution, like when we click on run to run our code, that's where the execution begins with. Okay, now there are other ways to execute, but for the time being I am using the main method only for executing. Okay, and then just click on finish. Oh, okay, I by mistake I put it in a folder called drivers. I don't want that, I've moved it, so I'm putting it in the default package. Okay, right, so this is my class. Okay, next, what do I want to do? So I want to, okay, can anybody tell, like, in order to open a Cementer website, okay, by doing a Google search, what is the first thing I need to do?
You have to give the browser URL. Launch the browser.
Yes, very good. So we need to launch the browser, right? Now for that, we write a code like this. You are telling Webdriver, that is our Selenium Webdriver, obviously. Okay, you are creating an object of it. So not an object, you are creating an instance of the driver of Webdriver, and you want to open a browser. Which browser do you want to open? Let's open it in Chrome. Okay, so I am going to say new Chrome browser. Okay, now you see that here it's throwing some errors. Webdriver cannot be resolved. Chrome browser cannot be. Sorry, I put Chrome browser. It's wrong. Chrome driver is what I have to write. Okay, so it's telling this also cannot be resolved. What do I do? So the reason why it is so this is just a Java project, right? I have not called the Selenium library so far. Okay, so how do I do that? Like, how do I set Selenium libraries into this project? Now, like this Eclipse IDE can be used for any kind of, Java programming, not specifically to Selenium. So specifically to use Selenium, we need to add that those libraries here. Okay, so how do you do that? Is like you right click on your project and then you go to build path. Okay, and then here you have this add libraries, or you can simply say configure build path, and here also you have the libraries. So now I told you that we need to do some installation before, right? So where do I get these Selenium libraries for? So first I told you that we need to install Eclipse. Okay, and then Eclipse is opened, we are going ahead with the we are trying to create our first thing. Now we need Selenium for opening all this, and like we are talking about Webdriver, so we need Selenium for that. So how do we do that? So you just go to Google and just type in Selenium Webdriver download. Okay, and this is this site called selenium.dev. That's the official site, so you can download it from there. Now which version, what do I need? So I am looking for WebDriver, and here you see Selenium clients and WebDriver language bindings. So as I said, Selenium supports various languages, programming languages. So I'm using this one, okay, for Java. All right, so that's the latest version. I have used this. When I download it, it comes as a zipped file. I'll just show you that. Okay, so this is the zipped file that I got. I unzipped it, and you can see so many jar files. These are the libraries. Okay, so these jar files need to be added to our Java library now. Now, how do I do that? Simple. Here in the libraries, you say add external jars. You go to that folder where you have extracted that. Okay, here in my case it's this folder, and I am, selecting all the jars. I am not, because I might need it some other time. So I'm not just stopping at one or two. I'll just copy all these jars. I mean, select all this, open, and also within the lib folder, whichever are there, I will, add those as well. Fine, no? That's how you add. Open, and once you do that, apply and close, and you are done. Your Selenium library has been added to your Java project. Okay, but in order to tell the in order for us to specifically use one particular thing called Webdriver, we need to import that. So here we have just added it to the local folder. You can say something like, for example, let's say I have a big library. Okay. Now I'm going to work on something, like I'm going to take Webdriver and work on that. So for that, what I'll do is I'll pick up all the books that I need and I keep it on my table, right? So same way you are importing. So when you added it to the library, that was just like adding it to the library. Okay. Now here is where you go ahead and bring it onto the table. Okay. So what you do is you will import the required things like these. Okay, so selenium.org.op. Okay, I'll just type it here for you. Okay, so you can see what all libraries have got added. I am first selecting this one. Next, I need the one which has Chrome driver. So you see, the moment I imported this, the issue with the Webdriver, that's gone. Only the Chrome driver is now showing me this issue, right? So I now need to. Another way is like can you see this? You can just when you have added the libraries to the the jars to our library, you can also get these options when you, otherwise before adding it to the library you will not have seen these options like import. If you see here, I can directly do it, or I can type and do it. So I'm just going to use the easy way. I'll keep my mouse here and it is telling me, do you want to import? Like these are all the different options. Specifically, I have downloaded it from this website called org.openqa.selenium. So from that, I want the Chrome driver. Let me do that. So it added. Okay, so this is the best thing about IDEs. They suggest what needs to be done. Okay, when we are now, that doesn't mean that you always need an IDE to execute code, but that's the most ideal thing. Even you can start with a simple notepad. Okay, so when you would have learned in school and all, you would have a different IDE for C++ or something, those used to be different. But here, these are very intelligent IDEs which give us suggestions on the base of the most common things that we do, right? So here, for example, I have imported these. Okay, now there's no error. So what does this do? So let's just execute and see. Okay, so I'm going to run this. What do you think will happen? Okay, wait, what? Okay, so see here. The path to the driver executable is missing. Now, that's what. So I told you that Chrome drivers here are in my slides, I said that it requires something called driver, right? So we said Chrome driver, but it was not there in the system. Okay, so I now need to tell where that driver is so that it can initiate or initialize that driver. Okay, so what I now basically these drivers will not be automatically available in our systems. So you just need to go to Google again and search for Chrome driver download for Selenium. Okay, you will get it here. Just download Okay, according to the version of Chrome that you have. For example, I'm searching what version of Chrome I have here. Okay, so mine is this one, 106.0.5249. So let me just search here which one I need. Now, if you have a later version, you can use that. So for me, this one looks ideal. I just download it. All right. And once you download, what do you get? So I'll just show you that as well because I have the downloaded folder for your reference. So I have this folder. Okay. Chrome driver. So this is the one that I downloaded. Let me show you what it has. It just has a Chrome driver exe. So basically it's just, opening up the Chrome. Okay, now I have downloaded this. Okay, so I need to tell my script that where that driver is. So how do I do that? Now I need to set something called as, system property. Okay, system. Okay, system dot. So see, initially it will look very, alien to you, whatever I'm doing. But once you start, automating, like you need to practice. Okay, that's the basic thing about anything with related to coding or automation in specifically. Like you need to practice. Only then will you remember these things. So let me use this. I need to set property. Okay, so I'll just use set. I'll just type that set.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask a doubt here? Yeah. So the Chrome version will get updated, right?
Correct.
So in that case, how we can reuse this code? Like
okay, so what you need to do is just change the driver, right? Your code will remain the same. You are not going to, okay, I'll tell you how. Okay, so your driver alone changes. Your Chrome driver is changing. Okay, but its functionalities will be whatever. See, whenever you the Chrome is getting updated, that doesn't mean this Chrome driver doesn't get up. I mean, in case if it gets updated, there will be a newer version of Chrome driver which is compatible with your latest Chrome. So you need to download that to your system. Okay, now there is a workaround for this also. Okay, I'll tell you about that as well. So Selenium 4, okay, it allows us to use something called as Webdriver Manager. Okay, I'm not going into the details of it because for the very first class, it will be a little confusing. But let me tell you that option is there, which is called Webdriver Manager. And that Webdriver Manager automatically, what it does, it will, download the driver, whichever driver version is there for your Chrome browser, and it will keep it. Okay, and the moment like the next time you are trying to open and you see that the Chrome is updated, it will automatically fetch the thing from the cloud. It will fetch the latest version of Chrome driver. It will update, not just for Chrome driver, for every driver. Okay, so there is this library again called Webdriver Manager, which can be used for that. I know, but again, that's like a little like advanced. So I'm not going into that as of now. So this is the most common way of starting it. Okay, so what I'm doing is system.set properties. Now what do I need to do? Okay, wait, I chose the wrong system.set properties. See, the best thing about using IDEs is that it keeps us giving, as I said, it keeps giving us suggestions, right? Oh, why is this? Yeah, so this is the one that I need to set. Okay, I need to set a property. Which property do I need to set? I need to tell the system where my Chrome driver is. Okay, so that I'll just copy it from here. I don't want to type. I am setting the path to this. Okay, so I'm telling my Chrome driver, this is where it is. And then I need to give the path. Okay, so now usually what we will do is like we have we need to give this path. That is where we have downloaded. But that again makes it like, as you said, what happens if you have changed the path? Then do I have to again come to my code and change it? So ideally, in in our industry, what is followed is like we just create a folder here inside our project itself, because that's where we will keep our code, right? So we ideally would go ahead and create a I'll just show you with the like without adding it to the project, like how can I use this Chrome driver. Okay, so I have it in my downloads folder and I am using this. So I'll just okay, now I need to give this as a string. Okay, so if you know what string is basically like characters. Okay, so I am giving, now again I need to change the path, yeah, I need to give it in this way. Okay, so that it recognizes, because backslash is considered different in Java, so it will be not considered as a path variable but as an escape sequence. So let's not go into that. I need to just understand that this is the way it is used. Okay, yeah, now Chrome driver exe. Okay, right? So I have given this. Now let's see if it actually uses that. Okay. So what have I told the system? System.set property WebDriver Chrome. This one, this particular property, I'm going to set it like this. Let's see if it. Oh, okay. So if it works. So earlier it was giving me an error. Now at this time, okay. What is it? Sorry. Okay, now it's working. So you can see Chrome driver started successfully. Let me go to the console again. Okay, so these, as of now, ignore these. These are some other binder exceptions that are coming. Okay, but that doesn't affect our testing as of now. Just, okay, so here you can see Chrome driver was started successfully. Okay, so what happened here? You see, a Chrome browser has opened. Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. Okay, right? So we did the very first step, that is opening the browser. Next, what do we do? Okay, yeah, now let me come to the thing where I was telling that, we can actually not use this hard-coded path. Instead, we can, give it in a different way. Let me do that. So what I did is, I wanted to bring it to my project folder. Okay, so I just created within this, like within SRC, I just created a new folder. New folder. Yeah, this one. Okay, and once I gave the name drivers. So what I'm going to, what my thought is like for all the drivers, be it Firefox, Chrome driver, whatever, I'm going to keep everything under this path. Okay, so first I need to go to the root folder, and then I am in this, I need this path, right? So the easiest way is right click on that, driver that you have pasted from your local. You brought it here into this folder. You can just drag drop. It comes here. Now you can use this option, copy qualified name. Okay. So the moment you open that, you just need to paste that qualified name here. So what is the qualified name? Selenium training. This is my project name. SRC is the folder name. And under that, drivers is the folder name. And then inside that, I've kept my Chrome driver exe. So let's try this one as well. Okay, working, right? So I don't need to give C and all that. Now, why am I going to use this? So anybody who wants to, use your code, you just need to share this entire project, and inside that the drivers will be there, right? So they can also run it. They don't need to, think of their C drive, D drive, etc., etc. Clear, right? Okay, and like, okay, now the next thing what that we need to do is I just open the browser. Now I need to browse to that, as I said, Google. So I'll use this driver dot get. Okay, now you can see here driver dot string URL. So I'm going to give the URL. Which URL? We are looking for google.com. So okay, you can type it. Okay, just copy this, Control C. Come here. Now this can be used for any browser. I mean, any website that you want to use, you can use this. So driver dot going to this. Okay. Next, what I want to do is I want to. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this first. Okay, great. Next, I want to go to this element. Okay, now that's the name which we use for different, particular elements of, they call web elements in particular. So I need to go to this search box, right? So how do I do that? Now this we will learn in the coming classes in more detail, but let me tell you, every element has some kind of unique ID. It can be an ID, it can be a name, or it will have something or the other which is unique. Okay, unique identifier. So we'll be using a unique identifier. All right, and how do I find that? You right click on. Okay, I'll just close this. I'll just show you in the normal browser. So you are going to do right click and then inspect. This option called inspect. Okay, so the moment you open this, this you might have seen so many times, right? Sometimes by mistake we do, open this source, right? So here in the inspect, you can use this particular, like a small arrow, which will help us in focusing on one particular element. So I'm taking that and I want this text box, right? This search box. So I click here. Now, what do you see? So, okay. So you see here, it has something called name. I'll just make it a little bigger here. So you can see name equal to Q. This is a unique ID. It will not, name and ID itself, okay, will be always unique. So no developer who develops a web page will give the same name to two different elements. Okay, so that if there is ID or name, go for it. It will not change. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right. So I'll say driver. In the driver dot, we have an option called find element by. Okay, this method is what we are going to use. So what we are going to do is driver dot find element by, and what are we going to do with that element? In that which by, like how are we? So you can see by. Okay, by what? We are going to use by what? We are going to use the name, right? So this is the syntax. We'll learn about this thing later, right? But okay, I'll just use a different one. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, by we'll use name, or by XPath not needed. Okay, I'll just. So since we are running a little short on time, I'll just quickly do this. So you can see by.name Q. The name Q. Okay, so we are finding that element by name Q, and then we need to type something into it, right? So there is an option called send keys. Okay, this is what we need to use. And what are we going to send into it? So we are going to type sc mentor. Okay, any doubts so far? I know this is a lot of knowledge for the first session, but just, I wanted to create some interest in automation. So that's why we are going to do this. Okay, so we are going to, right. So, okay, let me just stop it here. And then I'll do against driver dot send keys. You can do it continuously also. Oh, sorry. Yeah. We need to do it on the element. So either you use, you can call that. Okay, I'll show you in a different way. Let me not complicate things. Okay, so I'm going to say web element. I'm going to find that web element, right? So my element is a search box. So I'm creating a element, web element of search box, and storing this whatever the driver found for me, I'm going to store that. Okay, now in that search box I'm going to send this. Okay, I'm running short on battery charge. Yeah. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'll just connect my charger. Yeah, okay, I'm back. All right. Okay, so now let's run this. So the browser has opened. It has typed SC Mentor, right? Can you see in the search box, it has typed SC Mentor. Next, what do I need to do? I need to submit. Okay, that is, I need to hit enter, or I need to submit my like whatever browsing I did, right? So I will use submit option. Sorry, on the search box. Okay. So usually submit option is available for like when you are using a text box or form and etc. No, that's when you get this submit option. Okay, so you have submitted it. Next, what would happen is like you will get a set of results, right? So from that, we will try to find out the one which has a header which contains a text called SC Mentor. Okay, so I'll show you this little later. So yeah, I'll just code, I'll just comment this. Okay, let me run this. Okay, so now you can see that once we submitted, it came up with this search results. Right now I need to click on this header which says SE Mentor. So again I need to find or inspect it. Okay, so inspect. So you can see that this is a header H3, okay, H2, H3, etc. are like headers. And what does it have specifically? See, you can say that this SC mentor. Now, this is not an attribute. Okay, what do you mean by attribute? Attribute is like something like features of that particular tag. Okay, tags are like it can be a link, it can be an image, it can be a division, etc. Okay, so in HTML these are the different tags. So this is an H3, that is a heading, and it has a specific, I don't see something specific, it has something called class, but class again is not unique, so I'm not using that. I'll go with this, the text. Okay, so how I do it is I'll say driver dot find element, okay, by dot XPath. What do you mean by XPath? XPath is like again a different type of identifier. We will learn that in the coming class in more detail. Okay, and it just tells us XPath is basically like on the page. Okay, it's path where that element is. So we are telling look for, when we write 2 slashes, we are going to say look everywhere in the page. That's what it means by 2 slashes. And then we are looking for H3. So there may be more than one H3, okay, headings, but we are specifically looking for a one which has a text, this one. So don't focus too much on this today, because as I said, we'll be learning this in later, detail later, how to find XPath and all that. It's a very important topic. And then once we are done with that, we need to click on that. So we are finding an element and then we are saying click. Okay, so I do that, and then once it is up, I want to get the title of that. So what I'll do is driver dot get title. Okay, once it is up, I need to get the title of that page. Okay, now just by getting title, how do you know whether it is there or not? So let me print it out on this console for your understanding. Okay, so I'll just do system dot out. Okay, so you can see there's a shortcut for that, sys out. Within that I'm going to print this title. Whatever is the title of that page. What do you mean by title? Basically it's like this thing, okay, on the top, SC Mentor Google search. So if it's like that, it will be there. If it's something else like careers Mentor, then that would be there. Okay, so that's how it is. So yeah, okay, I'm doing that. And then finally, once we are done with that, I'll wait for some time. Okay, we'll learn about different types of wait later, but right now I'm just using a thread.sleep because our website loads, and I want it to be there. Now this happens in milliseconds, right? So the moment you quit the browser, you will not be able to see whether Mentor opened or not. So I'm just putting a wait of 10 seconds. Okay, so 10,000 is 10 milliseconds, and then driver.quit. Okay, driver.quit is to close the browser. We'll learn more about the different methods. Okay, so yeah, so thread will this particular thing called thread, it has a chance of throwing an exception, so we should handle it. That's why it's giving this. So we just need to implement that. Done. All right, so now let's run this. So far if you see, since I didn't do driver.quit or anything, it was just opening the browser, leaving it there. So very important, we need to close it. Okay, that's why we have put driver.quit at the end. Now let's run. Okay, it's typed SC Mentor. And if you see here, it's clicked on it. Can you see that a link got highlighted and we are on the scmentor.com page. Now it's waiting for 10 seconds to close the browser. It's closed. Okay, and you see whatever I said, whether it has verified that whatever was on the title, it was SC Mentor, so that it has printed here. Okay, is it interesting? Yeah, so we'll stop here. Okay, coming back. Right. So what we did, opening Chrome browser, navigating, and we searched for SC Mentor, and we clicked on and we, selected the title of the page, and then we are done, right? So finally, we come to the end. Yeah, so now if you have any questions, please do ask me. I know it was a long session. I'll try to shorten it the next time, but yeah. How was it? Were you able to understand? Or did you feel that automation is, easy? Okay, nobody has queries. Jemin?
Yeah. Hi, Rashmi. Yeah.
Okay, so I think they are a little confused. I don't know. So maybe you can collect feedback whether I need to go slower or do we need to add more things to make it more interesting and make it more understandable, especially. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. Sure, we'll be sharing a feedback form to them so that we can understand the expectation, and also we'll be sharing a recorded section of this. Okay.
yeah.
So anyone, if you have any doubts, you can ask this, use this opportunity. Okay. Anyone?
Actually, it was very knowledgeful, but a bit confusing.
I think
For the
Rashmi,
coding part, right?
Because all the terms and certain terminologies, yes, we have heard, but certain things we are completely new. So, as you said, since we practice, we will be able to pick it up, I guess. So,
Yeah,
I
right.
we need more sessions to understand.
Yes.
To get
So not to worry about that because we, this in a class, in one class, we cannot learn, automation. So we'll start from the basics of Selenium. Now, again, if you have not, if you don't have exposure to Java, because Java is what I will be going to use, you can learn some of the concepts of Java. So like, for example, what is a class, and how do you create an object of a class, things like that, simple things only. Okay, core Java is what we need. We don't need any hi-fi Java. Okay, so simple things like what is thread, just the what is things of coding. Okay, so that if you know to some extent, it will be easy for you to understand. Or else if you want me to, or me or anybody else to give you some exposure on those things which are required for automation alone, maybe we can plan a session on that as well. Okay, yeah, so feel free to give the honest feedback so that I can work on that. Yeah, we as a team can work on that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Jemin.
Okay. Anyone, any doubts apart from this? Anything to answer query like that?
I don't have any doubt, but I just have a question, Rashmi. Like, would you like to suggest some particular websites or something for us to learn Java basics? For example, like you have some W3 schools or like that, no? So, would you like to like suggest some websites like those to us?
Yeah, so I actually, I myself have learned Java from like simple websites where they teach a software testing as it is, okay, like automation testing itself. So like you can use tools QA. That is one website which is good for like, so you can specifically learn the Java which is required just for automation, right? But if you want to learn Java in more detail, then there are other better websites which I can share with Jemin. Okay, so tools QA is one, then softwaretesting.com is another website which you can use. So these will give you the gist of Java which is required for our automation testing. So that way it will not be very confusing to you at all. Only the concepts that will be used for automation will be there. Okay. Yeah. So tools QA and then softwaretesting.com. Those are the ones that I usually use.
Okay, Rashmi. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so nice speaking to all of you.
Rashmi, one quick thing you were saying about the procedures for installing Eclipse and
Yeah, so I have it in the slide, but I'll give a detailed document also. So I'll share it with Jemin so that he can forward it along with the other things. Okay, like I did not add it, because it was a lengthy procedure. So I did not add it as a part of the slide. I just gave the gist on the slide. So when you can refer to that document, I'll be adding screenshots as well in that document on how, what steps need to be taken. For example, how I can add libraries, etc. Right? So that all that has been, added in that document. So you can refer that.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Jemin, I think we can wind up.
Okay, okay. Anyway, thank you, Rashmi, for spending your time. Actually, I hope maybe I hope this will be laying a good basics for them. So maybe in the upcoming sessions we can cover some more on the Selenium, from the basics then to advanced level, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you everyone for attending for the session and spending your time. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.